Greetings, this is ObiWan Kenobi, and I have drifted into the Underworld. The Star Wars Underworld. I have a bad feeling about this.
Here we go. We must go to the lower levels. The Underworld.
You've taken your first step into a larger world.
You're after something.
Ben.
Since I've started the Underworld, I've met so many great friends.
Chris.
I grew up in the 1990s, and mall packaging is nostalgic for me.
Dominic.
What I love most about Star Wars is that it's fun and it's all-round good times.
So, this is where the fun begins.
May the Force be with us.
This thing really moves!
Whoa! I like this!
I can't believe you came all this way to see me.
What's up, Star Wars fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Star Wars Underworld podcast. We are your source for the latest breaking Star Wars news and discussion each and every week. And this week on the show, Disney Plus Day has come and gone with more of a fizzle than a bang from a Star Wars perspective, but we're still going to be talking about that new Obi-Wan Kenobi behind the scenes reel and the promised Boba Fett documentary special. Plus, we're going to be discussing the news of Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron being delayed and all the rumors surrounding that, all that and much more on this episode of the Star Wars Underworld podcast. My name is Chris, and joining me is my good friend, Mr. Dominic Jones.
Hello, Chris. Hello, Ben. Hello, everybody. Yeah, Disney Plus Day. That sure was worth delaying the show 24 hours, wasn't it? I feel great about that decision. But no, I'm glad we did, because if we didn't, there would have been a ton of stuff. So really, we made this happen. So it's our fault. But no, like with any good Disney movie, I feel like there are some important lessons that we can learn from today. So I've got two lessons in particular. One for just all Star Wars fans in general, and then one for us specifically here at the Star Wars Underworld. And for all of us generals, for everyone in Star Wars fandom, for all of us general Star Wars fans, I think the main lesson is this. We can't believe rumors about when stuff is going to come out anymore. We just can't. This happens every time. There's always a rumor that there's going to be a trailer, a sizzle reel, an announcement, and it's going to happen by this day or at this time. And it always feels like it just sort of comes and goes with a kind of a wah, wah, wah. So I feel like we just got to, anytime we see those rumors, just ignore them, take them with a big old grain of salt, and just say, you know what? If it happens, it'll happen. And then the second lesson, which is for us specifically here, is to stick to our guns, because 2 weeks ago we predicted that this is what would happen. We said there would just be a Boba Fett special, and that would basically be it, and there would be no other announcements. And yeah, okay, there was the Kenobi thing, and we'll get onto that in a bit. But we basically said that this would happen, and then last week, like everybody else, we got caught up in the hype with the rumors and everything, and we started making plans for what would happen.
You guys pulled us down.
Yeah,
we were right, and you pulled us down to your level.
We had it. So from now on, I'll be sticking to my guns and saying this is what is happening. Cad Bane won't appear in the Bad Batch, because that'll never happen, and then prove me wrong 12 hours later. But it is what it is. We're going to have lots of fun. There's so much other news to get to as well. It's going to be a great show. Happy Disney Plus Day. I saw someone in the chat say it was more of a D- day rather than a D+ day.
Oh man.
And I don't know if I would go quite that far, but I understand the sentiment.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Also joining us, you see him on the screen right down there. It's Ben Hart, the Star Wars guy.
Right here. Yeah, it's been happy Disney Plus minus day, whatever we're calling this. It's been one, guys, been a day. And we strongly considered before the show just turning this into a Marvel podcast, because apparently they got all the reveals today. But no, we're gonna stick with Star Wars. We did get some good stuff. Okay, we need to put this in perspective. Okay, glass half full here. All right, we got some good stuff, and I'm looking forward to actually talking about. We got Kenobi sizzle reel. That was really great. They leaked it early. Bob from social media. I'm afraid. I think he may be out of a job now. I think he put the wrong day in the scheduler, and it just went out at the wrong time. Poor guy. So yeah, if you need a new social media guy, yeah, Bob's your man. Because he's done good work in the past, but he screwed up this time. But anyway, and then also we got a little good Boba Fett documentary too, which I wasn't really expecting. Like we knew it was coming, but like I didn't expect it to be as good as it was. So yeah, it's it's not the whole extravaganza that we wanted it to be, but there's some good stuff, and there's stuff on the way. Star Wars is too good for this Disney Plus Day thing, so we're just gonna wait. Like that's how I'm gonna just
I'm just sitting here waiting for the Star Wars Plus Day to be announced.
I mean, we've got 4 of those coming up in May, so I think that might be.
We do have our own intergalactic holiday called May the 4th that they can use, but then they don't announce stuff on that day either. So whatever.
This is why I was saying we need to stop believing rumors about when stuff will drop, because as you can see, I mean, we've been doing this show a long time, and Ben, I think in particular, feels burned by all the times we got hyped for stuff and it wasn't there.
Because we were expecting a lot of news to drop, we enlisted a lot of backup for the show, and we're still going to have that backup appear. So going on to the show right now, she's from Star Wars Culture. It's our good friend, Hannah Rayside. Hannah, welcome to the show, and unmute your microphone.
Yeah. It's not, I'm clicking unmute and it's not unmuting.
Oh, that's
we're all clicking at the same time. We're all mashing it.
Oh my goodness.
There we go.
There we go. All right. You can hear me now. Hello. Thank you for having me. Yes. What a roller coaster of emotions it has been of a day. Lots to unpack what you said, but also to unpack what hasn't been said about anything. So it's going to be an interesting conversation, but I'm happy to be here. Just hanging out with Star Wars friends. That's the main point of Star Wars. So can't wait to get into it.
I feel like we should do a special episode just reacting to what we thought Disney Plus Day could have been or should have been. We should just imagine what all the things were that happened. Just come on here and be like, yeah, that Andor sizzle reel was incredible. The Kenobi trailer was brilliant. And yeah, that Darth Maul animated series sounds really good. And we just break it all down as if it all happened and then just put it out there and confuse everybody who followed along today, who didn't follow along today and is looking around going, where is all this stuff? I don't see it. Was it all in the investors only portion of the show? Something like that. But no, we won't do that. We're not that cruel. People are already feeling it today. So yeah. But I think we should hit some plugs and then we can start breaking down the news.
Yeah.
All right. So we are only 30 subscribers away from hitting 1,000 on YouTube, which has been our goal since we came back to YouTube after so many years away. So, gosh, I know there's 30 of you out there that are listening to the audio podcast or watching and not subscribed. Please subscribe. Once we hit 1,000, we've got lots of other functionality that we can add to the show that we're super, super stoked about. So definitely do that, and we'll greatly appreciate that. And then in addition to that, I want to talk about the Culture Slate Network. We are part of the network over there. We've got a lot of great shows. Hannah's on Star Wars Culture. We were good friends, Tyler and Logan, doing Chatter Squadron. And then we got the Rollout as well on the network. So check out all of those fantastic shows. There's a lot of stuff changing over at patreon.com/the SWU. We're not ready to make our official big announcement, just like Lucasfilm today at Disney Plus Day. We're just gonna give you a little sizzle. So just go over there. You might see a few new tiers and some interesting stuff. And then you're gonna have to wait for the big reveal with everything. Patreon.com/the SWU is where you can check that out, and you can subscribe for as little as $1 a month over there. That gets you our Patreon bonus shows, which we talked about the Marvel side of things at Disney Plus Day, amongst lots of other stuff. And we're still taking your feedback. Your feedback's awesome to read on the show. swunderworld@gmail.com is the email where you can send that feedback to. And if you are listening on a podcast app, definitely subscribe and leave us a review. I would hope if you're listening on a podcast app, you're already subscribed.
I hope so.
Yeah, you would think so. Yeah.
Theoretically. Definitely.
If you're not, I admire the dedication every week to go in there and search for the show. Like, that's next level. Yeah. The
that's
Star
right.
Wars.
And if you're listening again,
Star Wars.
If you're watching again on YouTube, make sure that you smash that like button and subscribe over here on YouTube. All right, let's get into the news.
All right. So I guess we should start with the actual reveal from Disney Plus Day. The one thing that was new-ish. New if you weren't paying attention the day before, or you're not a Disney investor, in which case you saw this last year. And that is, of course, the ObiWan Kenobi sizzle reel.
There's a hunger for this character to come back. The fans have been waiting long enough, you know?
Something that's extremely exciting is the return of, obviously, Ewan McGregor as ObiWan Kenobi. This is quite a dark time that we're coming into with him. Just being a Jedi, it's not safe. There's Jedi hunters out there.
At least he has this one task left, which is to keep Luke safe.
That's definitely a starting place for our story. The interesting thing is going to be where it goes from there.
The most beautiful thing of all is that it's brought me back together with Hayden.
We are bringing back Hayden Christensen to reprise the role of Darth Vader. We couldn't tell the story of Obi-Wan Kenobi without addressing Anakin or Vader.
Have another swing at each other. It might be quite satisfying for everybody. We hope that you enjoy it as much as we enjoy making it.
That genuinely is a really good sizzle reel. Like, let's be real. Like, for as many, as much as people might have been disappointed by today, that was good. That, I feel like if we hadn't gone into it expecting a trailer and just got that, I feel like people would have been pretty excited with it.
We all hadn't seen it like 24 hours prior.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm just saying.
It did leak, about 24 hours early. And we had all read descriptions of it last year after the Investors Day presentation, where that seems to have originated. But let's get some more reaction to it. And Ben, as always, we will throw it to you first. What did you think of the Obi-Wan Kenobi sizzle reel?
It's about time we saw something from this show, and it looks amazing. Like, I'll take concept art. Yes, I want those sweet behind the scenes photos and videos of Hayden and Ewan sparring again. Yes, I'm still holding out for that. But and of course I want like footage, and clearly this was like made before any footage was really made, so like it makes sense this is like old stuff. But still, it's amazing seeing the concept art and giving us kind of an idea of what the show actually is going to look like, and not really what I pictured. Not at all. Like, there's a lot of really interesting landscape. You think of Kenobi, you think of like, okay, show mostly about Obi-Wan doing his desert hermit thing, being a crazy old wizard out beyond the Dune Sea and just doing his thing. And this is not this show. It's something really wild and different, and showing Vader in there and showing that little glimpse of their duel, however that's going to work. It's amazing. Really just astoundingly amazing.
Based on the sizzle reel, their duel will just consist of cutting up other Star Wars duels and smashing them together so it looks like they're fighting.
The Force is with you, young Kenobi.
Yeah, what if the show has no new footage? It's just spliced together stuff from the other movies. And they're just and Obi-Wan looks slightly different in every shot depending on whether it's from Phantom Menace
James
or New
Taylor
Hope
to come in and just like do voiceover. You'll find I'm full of surprises.
Yeah. Hannah, what about you? What did you think of the sizzle?
Yeah, the sizzle, it was delicious. It was like, again, what I expected, but also not. I feel like I actually got a bit more from this sizzle reel than what I thought it would have expected. I thought it was going to be a lot more elusive, and a lot more, oh, it's going to be good, oh, it's going to be great. But I felt like we actually saw a lot. We saw some amazingly beautiful concept art, which was just stunning. It was like my favorite part. Fantastic concept art. Got to see Ewan talking about it, and then the fact that they're like, we just wanted Hayden in, we wanted Darth Vader and Obi-Wan, like they were just so explicit about that. And I think for such a big on-screen connection to happen again, I thought they were going to be a bit more secretive about that. So I think that's really awesome that they were really kind of forthright, going, hey, it's going to happen, and it's just fantastic. So overall, it was not what I expected, but I loved how much information we got from it. Good sizzle, a delicious sizzle.
Delicious sizzle, yeah. I feel like the fact that they're talking about Hayden so much and all of this stuff really means that he's gonna have like a meaty, significant role. Like you said, it feels like they could have kept it very secretive. They could have tried to keep it as a sort of like Luke Skywalker in The Mandalorian, or even like Ahsoka in The Mandalorian, where they just never confirmed it. They just let it be out there as a rumor.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the fact that they said no, we're bringing back the guy to be Anakin. It feels like it's going to be more than just a cameo, and more than just, hey, that's him coming out of the tube before we put him into the suit real quick. But Chris, what about you? What do you think of this one?
So, as a member of the Star Wars fan media, the lowly Star Wars fan media, it's difficult for me sometimes to remember what pieces of information come from official sources and things that come out on things like Variety and Deadline, and what things are whispered in my ear from just conversations. And so I wasn't surprised with anything that we saw in this sizzle. It wasn't like a big reveal for me. It was something where I think it just confirmed a lot of things that we've heard about the show. And the picture that I had for the show, this was putting a visual to some of the images I had visualized in my head for what the show could be. So I'm not like jumping up and down surprised at it, but I'm just like very kind of happy to kind of be seeing confirmed some of the kind of rumors that were floating around about what the show could be, and this concept of it being a very expansive show that's about much more than just Obi-Wan in the desert, which is what I've always been concerned about with this show is, how do you make it interesting when all we know is that Obi-Wan's just in the desert that whole time? So it's great seeing this concept art, seeing how involved Hayden and the character of Darth Vader are going to be, because it really shows, okay, they're going off Tatooine. They're dealing with other important characters in the Star Wars universe other than just Obi-Wan. It just really opens up the possibilities for what this show could be. And it's just fantastic to start seeing some visuals and some official hints towards that. So I'm really excited for this show beyond just the overall vibe of it and some of the characters that have been revealed so far. As far as what the plot's going to be, know nothing, and I'm super interested to find out how that's going to work. And it just gets me excited, as a sizzle should, for more official stuff coming down the line that we're going to find out about the show.
Yeah, the concept art really, I think, completes the sizzle. Like that takes it from just being something that's kind of cute and fun to something where you really want to dig into it a little bit. And let's do a little bit of that, because there's a couple of really interesting shots or art pieces, I guess. They're not really shots in this thing just yet, but there's one, and it's a whole bunch of stormtroopers in a big, like, expansive space, and it's kind of tinted sort of aquamarine. We'll go with that. I don't know about you guys, but for some reason when I saw this, I thought Jedi Temple, like the Coruscant one.
Yes.
I don't know why, because the more I look at it, the more I think that can't be. But my first instinct when I saw it was Jedi Temple, and I would love to see, an
or
Imperial
what it would
controlled.
be during this time period, the Imperial Palace.
Yeah.
And that would be so awesome, because the one thing that I really want to see at some point in the Disney Plus verse is Coruscant under Imperial control in live action. Like we saw a tiny little bit of it in Rogue One in that flashback scene with young Jin and Galen. And I just want to see some scenes, like some full scenes exploring Imperial Center, as it's called in the expanded universe and the Legends universe, because Coruscant's one of my favorite locations in the prequels and in the Clone Wars. I love everything that takes place there, except that one episode where they go shopping for fruit.
That episode is a classic.
The best.
It taught me math. Yeah.
Everything else is great. So I would be excited if this was like the Emperor's spot where he hangs out most of the time. Like I think that would be really cool to see in the show.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Coruscant, there is another shot later on, another piece of art that looks a lot like the Coruscant underworld. And it looks very Attack of the Clones ish. It sort of still looks like how it did then. Maybe a little bit darker, a little bit more sinister, kind of like what we saw in the Clone Wars.
1313 too.
1313, yeah. And it's making me sort of wonder how Darth Vader is going to enter the story. This is what our conversation is leading me towards, is how does Vader enter the story? When Kenobi and Vader meet, are they looking for each other? Is one looking for the other? Or is it just a crazy random happenstance? Like, do they just sort of wind up in the same place at the same time and duel? Or are we going to see Anakin Vader actively seeking out Obi-Wan, or potentially the other way around and have Obi-Wan actively seeking out Vader for some reason? I don't know why he would, but maybe he would want to know. Maybe he would, last time Obi-Wan saw Anakin, he was a burnt up crisp. And then next thing you know, he hears on the news, oh my God, there's this Darth Vader guy running around. Maybe he wants to go and find out.
That wasn't a delicious sizzle. That wasn't a delicious one.
That was bad news.
Can I drop a theory on you really quick?
Drop it.
Okay, so look, a lot of people have suggested this online, but I thought of it independently. I didn't read it online, so I'm taking credit for it, okay? So the whole thing with this Jedi Temple, Imperial Palace looking thing. I agree. Excuse me? Why?
Grievous is going to be in the
Kenobi show.
Yeah.
Voice, you work all day, and then I get here and it stops. So their whole thing with it looks like the inside of the Jedi Temple, which I agree. But something that it looks even more like, to me at least, I don't remember, I actually haven't played the game, but it looks a lot like, and this thing is underwater, the what is it? The Inquisitorius center on Jedi Fallen Order, from the end of Jedi Fallen Order.
Right.
So, and that's underwater. My theory is that Obi-Wan either mistakenly or perhaps intentionally gets himself captured by the Inquisitors and gets taken there. And then we see some other shots of Vader on the throne and stuff like that. And maybe that's where the conversation goes down, that he's captured and maybe he doesn't want to be, but he has to give himself up to make sure that Luke isn't, harmed or something.
What if he uses a fake name when he gets captured, because he didn't want to say he's ObiWan Kenobi? What if he gets captured? He's he can't think of anything, so he's I'm Anakin Skywalker. That's my name. And then that's how Vader hears it. He's wait, what? I gotta check this out. This doesn't add up.
Do I know him? He's me.
Yeah. Yeah, you could get the inverse of that scene. A stormtrooper could come up and be like,
Lord Vader, we've captured a prisoner. Who is it? He claims to be Obi-Wan Kenobi. He claims to be Anakin Skywalker. Does that name mean anything to you?
Well, it used to.
Do you know him?
Of course I know him. He's me.
You're really committing to this bit, aren't you?
I can't get out of it.
You're Anakin Skywalker, sir?
I shouldn't have told you that. You don't know any.
Poor guy. Just
Somebody else has to say something, otherwise I will keep going. I will act out the entire show.
George is enjoying this.
All right, that was. I just have no comment. No, but I do want to piggyback off this conversation of how Anakin and Obi-Wan will meet and when they do and how that happens. So similar theory. I'm kind of back to the concept art. I'm coming down to the fact that I think that might be the Jedi Temple. And when I think of Star Wars and in terms of storytelling, they like their mirroring and they like their lots of kind of copycatting, and all throughout all different movies and content. And so I think in Clone Wars and in Revenge of the Sith, we had a lot of conversations with Anakin and Obi-Wan in that kind of Jedi corridor where they had those big windows, and there was a lot of, that's when Obi-Wan was like, oh, you got to spy on Palps for us. And, that's when they have a lot of conversations then. And again, a lot of Clone Wars episodes are through those hallways. So I reckon we will see a meeting between Vader and Obi-Wan. Somehow Obi-Wan infiltrates the whole thing, gets completely undetected, completely outsmarts everyone. And there is a meeting of Vader and Obi-Wan in that specific hallway. I don't know if it has a name, but that, that hallway with the windows, with Vader and Obi-Wan in that hallway. That's my theory of how they'll meet. Because I think Obi-Wan has that kind of real positivity to him. And even through all his trauma and grief, he always keeps going back to make things right and to try and make things better and try and resolve. So I feel like Obi-Wan will have some sort of element of, I want to try and talk to Anakin again. I want to talk to Vader. I think he'll seek him out, in my opinion.
And I like going back to the line in A New Hope where Vader says, you should not have come back.
And in Return of the Jedi, where Vader says, Obi-Wan once thought as you do.
Exactly. Right. I just like the idea of like Kenobi like reached out and then maybe got away, clearly got away. But like him like showing up on the Death Star, maybe, I mean, he doesn't go there to confront Vader, but he ends up doing it and knows he has to. I like the idea of like Vader going like, you got away last time, but yeah, you shouldn't have come back. Now I'm going to kill you. Like, basically.
Yeah.
What if Vader has to like let Obi-Wan go for some reason? Like he could have killed him.
Ooh.
And then has to let him go because I don't know, something's going to blow up or something.
Well, it kind of reminds me about how he's just standing there as the Tantive 5 is 4.
Don't do
almost so close.
Wait a minute, that's my shit. The Tantive 4 is pulling away, and he's just watching from space as it pulls away. Like it might be similar.
I like the idea of maybe like Obi-Wan just like gets to the intercom for the base, and he's just like, look, if you don't let me go, I'm gonna tell everybody your biggest weakness is sand. Like you hate sand.
Pocket sand.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
He knows his weakness.
It would get in his tubes. I would understand. In his breathing thing.
Just get out of here.
Just sand coming out.
Lord Vader, how did he escape? I can't tell you. Wait, it's a super secret Jedi power.
We're coming back to this.
It's embarrassing. No, it's secret.
It was used to power. Insignificant. The Force. Something. Hey, what's that over there? Bye. Anyways, back to the concept art. Concept art.
Yes.
There's another very interesting shot of like, I don't even know how to describe this place. It's some kind of medieval looking castle, futuristic cantina thing. On some
Write
planet.
that down.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they call it. There'll be a big page in the concept art book.
Futuristic cantina space bar
thing. Yeah, that looks. I just like the design. I like the infusing some like medieval stuff into some futuristic things with Star Wars. But the other really interesting shot is there seems to just be a shot of Echo Base in this.
Yeah,
where there's like a whole bunch of snow speeders just hanging out.
Well, looks like an important detail here is that they're not snow speeders. They adapt them to the cold. But they get too hot, they're like, we can't use these dang things because they don't work in this like extreme cold. So, and that's actually something I think in Empire at War, I remember playing those things. You could like use them like as air speeders. Like that's what they're designed for. But I like the idea of maybe now we'll see them. Or maybe this is Hoth. Maybe we're just going to find out that Hoth was always a base there. And that was their last resort.
Yeah, they're like, oh, please don't make us go back there. Not again.
It looks like a cave or something behind the speeders off in the distance to the left.
Well, is this Ilum's still around at this point.
Yeah,
Maybe.
Could be.
Maybe
I mean,
somebody
that-
needs some crystals.
That does feel a little bit like, well, we want to have a desert planet, but we don't want it to be Tatooine, so we'll have Jakku. So we want to have a snow planet. We won't make it hot.
That would be if you had a completely different planet called
Cold.
Both. If you had Both, then yes, that would be kind of dumb. It's like, why not just do Hoth? But if you're pulling from another planet that we see in various Star Wars media, then that's cool. And I would rather see Ilum than Hoth any day, because it's just more interesting to me with the Kyber crystal thing and the whole story there.
And they're going to start harvesting those kyber crystals for the Death Star too. So
Yeah, they're going to start.
Got to start somewhere.
I would think they would already be like well into it at that point, maybe, because, I mean, I don't know. Maybe Ilum came along faster. I don't know. I think they were doing stuff in Jedi Fallen Order, I think. So yeah, a lot of stuff happened.
That's true.
I'm just more interested in like the idea of the rebellion having a presence in this show. The rebellion, like, this is 10 years before A New Hope. We know the rebellion, at least from Bail Organa's point of view, and even Leia knows that he's a thing, that Obi-Wan's out there somewhere, that they're like, oh, we are really up a creek without a paddle here. We need to call in Kenobi. Like, that's what they're at in A New Hope. Like, there's a connection there, but like the fact that it's going to play some type of role in this show is interesting to me.
Yeah, I mean, I've always wondered, like, what is important enough to get Obi-Wan to leave Tatooine, to leave Luke, and satisfying his own curiosity. Okay, maybe. But there is another. And perhaps the thing that would be important enough to get Obi-Wan to leave Tatooine would be if Leia were in immediate danger.
Yeah.
And perhaps that's it. And honestly, I think you could kind of, from a certain point of view, A New Hope a little bit into having Leia and Obi-Wan meet, because I don't think she ever specifically says she hasn't met him.
No,
in A New Hope.
Right.
And
it's
gonna
Luke upset a lot of people, but there's nothing.
There's nothing. There's nothing. Like Luke says, I'm here to rescue you. I'm here with Ben Kenobi.
Yeah.
And she's like, Ben Kenobi. Like, she's like that. You could read that if you wanted to as my old buddy. He saved me once before. He's here to do it again.
Yeah.
Just throwing it out there.
It's possible, and like, even like, she would be 10 years old, like that could, like, you could play with that, and like, if, like, say for example, they're like, oh, I don't really remember, like, if you met somebody when you're 10 years old, like, you may not have like super like good memories of them, which would kind of tie in the whole idea of like, hey, General Kenobi, years ago you served my father in the Clone Wars, all that kind of stuff.
I couldn't even remember somebody I met when I was 15 the other day. No, they didn't remember me either, and they were much older than 15. So,
So wait, hold on. Are you sure you just weren't two strangers meeting then? Like, neither of you remember the other person?
That's the thing. It's like, we've met before, but I don't remember meeting you, and you don't remember meeting me. So how do we know we met before?
Let's put Obi-Wan aside for a second and unpack that little sentence there, because
we have a mutual person who's like, you two met each other. I met both of you.
Yeah.
So that'll be Bail. Bail will be saying that, but you're like, you two know each other.
Yeah.
You know this.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, wow.
A couple other interesting shots of concept art. I'm just going to keep calling them shots because I just think in trailer terms. We got a couple of moments of Darth Vader in his castle.
Yeah.
Which looks pretty cool. We see his desk in one of them, which I never imagined seeing Darth Vader sitting at his desk doing paperwork. But I guess everybody's got to do it sometimes. What if he's just like filling out his taxes? He's like, Palpatine told me I would get credits for this.
A space pen. Have we ever seen a space pen in Star Wars?
No.
Yes.
Everything seems to be touchscreen. Oh,
Yes.
Ben's coming in.
I don't know how this got to me, but there's a scene.
Here we go.
There's a scene in the Clone Wars episode the Malastare episode where the Doug King goes he signs a treaty. He signs the treaty.
That's right.
He does with his little foot hand.
I don't know how I came up with that so quickly.
This is Ben. This is why you won trivia all those weeks ago.
But it's on a pen. It's like a real pen. It's like a stylus. It's on a touchpad. But it's a pen. It's closest to a pen.
Imagine Vader just sitting there, just writing, just doodling when he's on the phone. He's just doodling.
Vader is definitely one of those people with one of those calculators that has a receipt thing on it where it prints out the math as he's doing it. He's like, no, that's not right. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. But
the big sort of the final piece of concept art that they end on, I think, is Obi-Wan and Vader fighting. I mean, maybe this is just Revenge of the Sith being in my brain because that's the last time we saw these two fight. Is that Mustafar? It looks kind of Mustafarian.
Like it.
It looks Mustafari.
Yeah. Mustafar-esque.
It's definitely a lot of fires like that. It almost looks like it could be something is on fire, they're inside a ship. Think Clone Wars. There was a lot of scenes and where they're inside the reactor and it's exploding and all this kind of stuff. I'm hoping it's that and not but it's still the imagery of these two fighting and flames in the background. That's very interesting. It seemed like they would do something a bit different. Maybe they're just this is just concept art. Maybe it's not supposed to be like that in the show. A lot of people have drawn comparisons to both of these poses are the Obi-Wan pose is a Luke pose, and then the Vader pose is just a pose from Revenge of the Sith. They're compositing, they're just throwing stuff together. Okay, this is what happened. They're fighting. We don't know where this is. Maybe it's back on Mustafar. Maybe they just go back to Mustafar and they just have a punch up.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, they meet in that corridor on Coruscant in the Jedi Temple, and they're like, you know what? Let's not do this here. We know a place where we can fight.
That'd be ridiculous.
Let's take it there. Let's take it there.
This isn't dangerous enough, all right? I don't see any flames or lava around here.
Yeah. Obi-Wan's let's be civilized about this. Take it to Mustafar. No sense fighting on Coruscant.
What if Vader takes Obi-Wan to Mustafar? He's like, okay, I'm gonna do to you what you did to me.
Whoa. Ooh.
I'm gonna throw you in the lava.
That's dark. Yeah. Ooh.
Wow.
Ooh.
Vader's it's one of those awful torture scenes in a movie. He has Obi-Wan strung up by the legs. He's like, I'm gonna start by removing one of your limbs, and then we'll dip you in some lava and see how you like it.
Who would you rather remove first, your arms or your legs?
He should definitely say, I have the high ground now.
I do think that last piece of concept art is from Mustafar in his Vader's castle.
Yeah. That would be that. I think so too. It looks cool. Anything else you guys want to bring up about the Obi-Wan Kenobi sizzle reel? We've spent a lot more.
Is nice Yopi he's got there.
Yeah, it's a nice Yopi you got there. Shame if something happened to it.
I do want to.
There's an Yopi head is going to show up in somebody's bed. This is not good.
Oh my goodness. There is a piece of concept art of the Inquisitor with the couple of stormtroopers there. And I'm just re-looking at it now. It does give me very much Lothal kind of environment vibes. The kind of the ground, the dustiness of it, the bleakness. It looks a bit Lothal like to me. I can't off the top of my head see how that could connect, but it would be cool to some other that whole thing of we want to connect more in Star Wars. If we have some other planets like that where we've only seen it in one particular series or piece of content or book, but we see it in this show, that would be interesting. As much as I want to see Coruscant and all the main planets again, I would like to see maybe a more quieter planet that we don't know enough about. But yeah, so that was my other thought.
That would be fascinating. Imagine if Obi-Wan knows Ezra's parents.
Ooh.
Obi-Wan would definitely be listening to their Resistance broadcast things.
Live from Lothal.
Yeah. That's what it would be called, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's get Lothal in live action. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Let's get Ephraim and Mira Bridger in here.
Yes. Make it
Absolutely.
happen.
I would love that. I would love that.
A lot of people have also with this specific piece of art, they've talked about how the Inquisitor in this shot looks a lot like Trilla from Jedi Fallen Order, but as other people have pointed out, she's dead. She's gone at this point, so it really can't be her. It's someone. Maybe it's just someone similar.
Cloning
armor.
secrets only the Sith knew.
I mean, everyone, all of the Inquisitors have like roughly the same costume. Like they get individualized a little bit, but they're all pretty similar. So I think this
Space
is such a this shot is such a this piece of art is such a like a wide shot that we shouldn't be focusing in too much on the figures in the picture because they're just sort of meant to.
I've got like this microscope and I'm just like, what's over in this corner? Is that
All
double
you
magnifying
really have
glasses.
to do is like go back to like old concept art of like Force Awakens, and they have like before like Kylo Ren had even been created, they put in just Vader. They just put Vader and regular stormtroopers. Like, wait a minute, what's going on? We've seen that like before we saw the movie. Like, what's going on here?
Yeah. The point of this particular piece is the ship.
Darth Vader returned.
I do have to mention, but if we get anything from Kenobi, we have to get the helicopter lightsaber in live action. I am not watching the show if that is not in Kenobi. Oh my gosh, that would live action helicopter.
That's
lightsaber.
that's how Obi-Wan will escape. Vader will be about to kill him, and Obi-Wan just bye.
I have the high ground. Just winching away.
Vader's like, I gotta get me one of those.
That's where the idea came from.
There we go. So that's the Obi-Wan Kenobi sizzle reel and concept art, all of that fun stuff. Of course, Obi-Wan Kenobi comes out sometime next year. Let's just imagine that it might come out in like the 5th month of next year. Maybe on the first Wednesday of May of next year is 1, 2, 3, 4. May 4. That sounds May the 4th, 2021. Sounds like a certain Star Wars quote, but no, they wouldn't do that. They're gonna just to screw with us. They're gonna release it on the 10th. Be like, no, it's not ready. It's not ready.
Yeah,
sorry.
I'm seriously. The next time someone says, "Oh, I think they're going to release a Star Wars trailer on this day," I'm like, "Shut up! Shut your mouth! All right, I'm tired of this crap. I'm tired of the overhype. Just look, tell me when the trailer is drop on YouTube. All right, just tell me that. That's all I want to know. Leave me alone, otherwise."
When does the trailer drop? When does the episode release? Everything else we can deal with ourselves. All right, let's keep going. We're still focusing in here on Disney Plus Day with the reveals and releases, and of course the other big release for Star Wars was Under the Helmet: The Legacy of Boba Fett, the 22-minute documentary that was released on the aforementioned Disney Plus platform. Let's get some reaction to it, and Hannah, we'll throw it to you first this time. What'd you think of Under the Helmet?
I am so happy you threw it to me first because I have so many feelings in response to watching this. And I watched it first thing this morning, and it was I was genuinely moved by it. And I'm not an easily moved person by film, but I was really thought this was a beautiful like kind of tale and story of Boba Fett. And it's very true. And we've, over at our Stars Culture, we've been talking a lot about Boba, and sure, everyone else is at the moment with the series coming out, and kind of talking about this character and how, his legacy. So I think it's very fitting that we did get this special, this short, 20, it's only 22 minutes long. So it's not too long, but it's still so rich with emotion and explaining, where he came from and the inception of Boba and his story. And I really genuinely, I was like tearing up going, this is such a beautiful Star Wars moment of like a character that was just an idea becoming this fan crazed, fan favorite icon. So I love this documentary. I think it was really interesting, and I really think anyone should watch it. It's such a fascinating way that how nothing became, this really influential character in Star Wars. I loved it. I was really impressed.
Yeah, I think we have a tendency sometimes as Star Wars fans to take Boba Fett for granted. Like, for us, he's just like always been there. But as they point out in the documentary, it's 4 lines, less than 6 minutes of screen time. Like it's a really small amount of stuff that he's actually in. And I think Ben Burt and George Lucas both say in the thing that like they never expected anything really to become of him. It was Ben Burt says I didn't expect I'd ever hear of him after 1980, and here we are, 41 years later, and he's getting his own show. It's a, like you're saying, Hannah, it's like a weirdly like emotional story of like perseverance of like this character just carrying on, and eventually becoming one of the marquee events of one of the biggest companies in the world with Disney. It was really quite something. Chris, as I think perhaps the biggest Boba Fett fan here, what did you think of this one?
That's right. I've got my prototype Boba Fett Black Series figure right here for this momentous occasion where he's finally getting the full recognition that he deserves as the best Star Wars character in the films. As Dominic looks away awkwardly. As a kid, Boba Fett was the character that stood out to me the most. I remember at an early age deciding this is the first character I want to complete as much merch as I can from. If I ever saw something Boba Fett anywhere, action figures, notebooks, whatever you have it, I would grab it if I could. And I amassed quite a collection and still have that. Bookended by this guy over here that you can see on our YouTube channel, which again, if you look at our logo over on YouTube, you will notice that iconic T visor there. And it was great hearing that talked about directly in this documentary. It's just such an iconic imagery. I can't remember who was it that said, this is an amazing quote. I wish I remembered it. Maybe one of you will. Someone said that a good Star Wars character is one that you can recognize by their silhouette.
Oh yes, I do know the quote, but someone said it. Yeah,
I feel like
that's. Look it up.
I feel like that's a Doug Chang quote. It sounds like something Doug Chang would say.
If anybody knows, let us tweet us at the SWU at C3PO. So next time I bring it up, I can properly attribute it. It's an amazing quote. But it's like Boba Fett's one of those characters where you just see his silhouette, and it's such an iconic silhouette. You see the helmet, you see the little scope on the top of the helmet and the way it's shaped, which is so unique. You see the jetpack in the back. You see the little cape hanging down on the side. Just so many aspects of the design is so unique. And so it was great watching this documentary and seeing how it started with just a really brilliant design, and with McQuarrie and Joe Johnston working collaborating on it to bringing it into reality, and then having Jeremy Bulloch come and play the character, and just have that posture that had so much personality, saying so much with silence by just standing there. And whenever he speaks, you're just enthralled by it because it's just a few lines, but it's so important to the story and so powerful into his character. Basically this has just triggered me into this gushing rant about how much I love Boba Fett, which is what this is supposed to do. I thought it was I agree with Hannah, it was a beautiful and very emotional piece, extremely well edited and well done, as most Star Wars things have been lately with Disney Plus. And I hope they kind of do this with other characters and dive into them like this. I think it's amazing.
Yeah, I think when the Ahsoka series eventually comes out, a version of this about Ahsoka would be.
Speaking of tears,
would be pretty special. Yeah, and I love that they gave Jeremy Bulloch such a spotlight in this, especially since we lost him last year. So that was beautiful, and having his wife in there was terrific. He really was something special. Ben, what about you? What'd you think of Under the Helmet? Are you going to break the streak here and say you hated it?
It was the worst thing I've ever seen.
No, unfortunately that would be a lie. This was I was not expecting to be moved as much as I was, and not expecting to like really enjoy it as much as I have, because like I obviously think, I mean this in the best way possible, this is kind of aimed at a lot of new people, a lot of people that not just new people, but people that may have watched Star Wars all their lives but never heard these stories. We as podcasters and people that are like obsessed with this stuff, we want all the story, all the behind the scenes stories. We've heard the story. We've seen that old black and white footage of Ben Burt, showing that all white of Dwayne Dunham, wearing the costume, all that kind of stuff. And I don't think probably most people in the world probably have never heard that story. And now they're hearing it for the first time, I think, which is amazing. Being able to kind of tell the lineage in such a fascinating story. Being Boba Fett as his character that has evolved over the years in the story, his behind the scenes evolution I think is just as interesting. And going along and kind of saying, hey, this is what we started out with. And he was going to be this kind of brand of super soldiers, then going along. And, the fact that he shows up for the first time ever in public, he shows up in a parade in Northern California.
I hadn't heard that story.
I've always heard that bit of the story, not explained in that way. I didn't know they actually had footage of it, which was amazing.
Yeah, I was amazed.
Just like seeing like kids running up to him like, oh my god, it's so cool, they're getting his autograph. It's so heartwarming. It's just like, wow, this was unprecedented. Can you imagine, like, we're talking about like you want to go back in time, I want to go back and meet Boba Fett for the first time there. Like, how amazing would that be? How would imagine being a kid in that town and having this new guy Boba Fett show up? But and just going through lines and giving the fair due to people like Jeremy Bullock and obviously Tim Morrison's getting a lot of attention nowadays, but understanding his lineage and where he didn't start out playing Boba Fett, but he kind of worked his way into that role and playing him, and then you have all the other actors that have played along the way. Really great. And I can't wait for people that have no idea about Boba Fett. They're saying, oh yeah, Boba Fett, I've seen Boba Fett. He's been on a Build-A-Bear, like that's people's like thing. They know the character. I love when Steve Sansweet's going through Rancho Obi-Wan. He's like, oh yeah, I have so many Boba Fett things because like there's just like, if you get a set of Star Wars characters, like Boba Fett's going to be included because he's one of those characters. Even though he has 5 lines in the whole original trilogy, he's still huge. And I love that story is now out there for people to enjoy and understand, and going into the show can appreciate Book of Boba Fett even more, knowing all this information.
Yeah, absolutely. One other thing that stood out to me about this doc is that I think this is the first new Star Wars behind the scenes thing to come out since the Disney purchase to feature a new interview with George Lucas.
That's right. I was going to be my next comment, and I like lost my mind at this fact. Yeah.
I was like, this has to be footage from something else. And I was looking at the background. I'm like, this is the same as the other interviews. Oh my gosh, this is new. What?
George? Yeah,
so good.
Yeah, and it reminds me, every time I see George now, I always think, God, I miss that guy. Not that he was around a lot before, but now that he's like around even less, it's like, geez, where is he? I miss him. Misses just his weird little ways of telling stories where he's like, yeah, I needed a character and he was a good one. It's like, oh, thanks for that insight, George. That was amazing. Yeah, wow. But I hope this is the beginning of the next chapter of George Lucas's relationship with Disney and the new Star Wars projects.
Absolutely.
Because I think it's fair to say that there were a lot of hurt feelings about the way the sequel trilogy went down. When he sold the company, he thought he was selling his ideas as well, and that they would take those treatments that he wrote for 7, 8, 9 and turn it into actual movies. And then, Bob Iger, of all people, told this story in his book about how they went to Skywalker Ranch to pitch George on what they were going to do with Episode 7, with The Force Awakens. And George heard what they were doing, and he was really upset. That's the like sanitized version that Bob Iger tells in his book. You have to imagine, what is the real version like, the version that they don't want to tell. And, some of George's comments, especially in the lead up to Force Awakens, were not great. It was clear that there was a lot of hurt feelings there. And he's come back here and there for, the 40th anniversary of Star Wars at Celebration, or, he was at the premiere of Solo to support his old buddy Ron Howard. But he's stayed away from a lot of it. He stayed away from the sequel trilogy, and he's stayed away from these things. And he hasn't been, on the record for any new Disney stuff, other than, I guess, maybe an appearance at Galaxy's Edge here and there. So I hope that, I don't expect him to come out and start appearing in behind the scenes about the sequel trilogy and start telling his side of the story in those. But for things that are building specifically off of what he already did, I hope that this is a beginning where he can come back and maybe, if not completely heal that relationship, mend it a little bit and share his insight, share his wisdom, and if nothing else, just share his stories with all of us, his memories of making the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy, and the Clone Wars, because there's a lot there that we still haven't heard. So.
I completely agree with you, because I think I had a similar reaction when I saw the behind the scenes of the Mando, the first season, when he's in those, we get those stills of him holding Grogu, and and he's back there, and John's showing him around, and Dave is there. I was about to call him Dan. Dave is there, and then they're
That's
talking
his
to him
brother,
and showing
Dan
him
Filoni.
Like George is on set there, and that was a very similar reaction where I was like, "That's wow, he's back in that space. That is so cool that he's there and reconnecting with that." And it's probably not in a completely professional. It's not like he's a producer or anything, but just the fact that he's in and immersed around it again, and he's like making comments about like we did that, or whatever, and having an interaction with it was really like I was really ecstatic to see that. So yeah, as seeing him interviewed about it, like answering questions about Boba, yeah, same reaction. I was just like, that's new, that's definitely new. Is that what, are you for real? Yeah, I was very taken back by that. I enjoyed it so much.
I also loved how all these years later, he's still desperately trying to distance himself from the holiday special.
I was so surprised
He
that
said,
they officially acknowledged the existence of the holiday special and showed footage from it.
Yeah, and
This is
showed
unprecedented.
showed good footage from it. Like not ripped off YouTube crap, like good footage.
There's a 4K version of the holiday special somewhere I haven't seen.
I had this feeling twice when I was watching that documentary, because not only that, but they were also doing a bunch of outtakes from the original trilogy.
Yeah,
and I'm like, wait, if they have 4K outtakes, where's the 4K footage of the original trilogy?
Yeah,
Why didn't they announce that today, huh? Disney Plus Day. That would have been perfect for today, huh? They put in, they're putting IMAX versions of Marvel movies on Disney Plus. They can't put 4K versions of the original trilogy up there.
They can't put 4K deleted scenes from Star Wars. How dare you, Disney? Betrayal of the fans. It's all Ruin Johnson's fault somehow. We're on YouTube, so we might as well embrace the format. There is so much behind the scenes stuff from the original trilogy that we haven't seen, and they've been slowly feeding it to us. At the beginning of the Rise of Skywalker documentary, there's that footage of those fans outside the Return of the Jedi set from 1983. That was crazy. And then so I think it was last year they put out some 40th anniversary of Empire Strikes Back, some behind the scenes things there, where there were extended versions of the scene, and the scene with Han and Leia's first kiss, and it gets interrupted by 3PO. There's more of that. That scene actually went on longer, and you can actually see that stuff. They're making a case for some kind of weird extended cut, or just release it all in raw format on Disney Plus.
I'll
just
never
40 hours of footage. I'll sit there and watch every second of it.
I'll never forget Celebration 5. They just showed the full scene of Luke constructing his lightsaber at the beginning of Return of the Jedi. I mean, wait a minute, you've been sitting on this for 30 years? What? You haven't shown us this? We knew it existed. Where's it been?
Oh, that's so good.
So the Lucasfilm vault is full of many, many glorious secrets that will one day hopefully be revealed to us all.
Everyone wants to raid Area 51. I say raid the Lucasfilm archive. Let's see what's in there.
That's way better.
They got some real aliens in there.
Yeah. Oh, good stuff. Good stuff. Any other thoughts on Under the Helmet? Or shall we move on?
I was
It's
cool
good.
that they included Daniel Logan in it as well. That's cool that he's still talking with Star Wars and involved in that.
Yeah. I think I suspect that at some point next year we'll see Daniel Logan back in an official capacity. If not in Book of Boba. I mean, Boba's got to meet his sister on the Bad Batch. It's gotta.
Oh yeah.
It's gotta
Oh yeah.
happen.
Absolutely.
So
That's some continuity to like have him show, like, let him do Boba and get in voice, and then like he's right there. Like, just get him. He's young Boba Fett. Get him in Book of Boba Fett. You're gonna do flashbacks at some point. You're gonna do an earlier chapter or whatever, chapter 0. So let's do it.
Chapter 0. That's the first episode. The Book of Boba Fett, episode 1, chapter 0.
And they should call it Alpha. Chapter 0, Alpha. Oh, I just made
There
something
we go.
ridiculous very possible.
There you go.
Can't wait till the epilogue. Omega.
Here's a genuine prediction. There will be an episode of the Book of Boba Fett titled Heir to the Underworld.
Ooh.
Going with that.
Is an incredible title. You just got that for free, Disney.
Yeah.
You didn't give us anything today,
we
so we're
know.
gonna give you something.
We know John and Dave love Heir to the Empire from what they're doing with The Mandalorian. And, you know, that's kind of Boba's role in the show, it seems like, at least. So, anyway, that about does it for what was actually released on Disney Plus Day. There was some product reveals as well, like some Funko Pops.
No. That's not it. Did you hear? Did you hear the big news?
What's that?
Boba Fett's gonna be in Fortnite. All right, the biggest news. The biggest news.
Yes, I'm so excited.
And it's going to be a
Can't believe we
scene.
forgot it all this time.
It's going to be a scene that is essential to the show, but will not appear. It'll just be vaguely referenced in the opening scene. The galaxy has heard a mysterious broadcast that you can see if you play Fortnite. All right. There it is.
You know, the first season of Book of Boba, the tease at the end of the season will be that Jabba the Hutt somehow returned.
It would just be his laugh. It would just be that.
And then Dominic Monaghan will just show up on the screen and be like, cloning, science, dark science, secrets only the Hutts knew, and then disappear.
You get out of here! Wrong movie!
Jon Favreau will chase him out with a broom. I told you to stay away. I don't know why he would do that. Both of them seem like very nice people, but you know.
And then you have Teenage Stinky coming in saying, "Guys, you're harshing my mellow."
We need an English to Huttese translation just to know what that would have been. Busha Wuda Masa Mellow.
Oh man! Oh no!
Okay, Andor. Let's talk Andor.
Another thing we didn't get a trailer or a sizzle reel for.
Yeah. Yeah, it was pointed out that in the closing reel that Disney did for Disney Plus Day, they show the Andor title card and they show the Bad Batch season 2 title cards. And it's making a lot of people wonder, myself included, if at one point maybe there was a little bit more planned and it got held off on for whatever reason.
Here's the thing. The Pixar one shows the Buzz Lightyear in it, and they don't even talk about it. So this is something that they just are doing across the board. They're just throwing random characters and shows on the graphics that they're not talking about.
I will actually argue that I feel like Disney Plus Day overall, not just Star Wars wise, was way overhyped. I think, honestly, I really don't think they gave a whole lot. They gave a lot of Disney stuff and maybe Disney Plus Day, whatever. But they gave us a little bit of Marvel stuff, not a whole lot. I expected when they first announced it, I'm like, okay, I want to temper my expectations. But then the rumors coming, I'm like, okay, this is confirmation that they're actually gonna do something with this. Boy, how stupid I was.
We all got caught in that trap, Ben.
Yeah.
Let's be real. It wasn't just
it's not
you.
like we moved the time of our show from Thursday to Friday for the first time ever.
Look what you did for doing this on Friday for you, Disney.
If we rewind to 12 months ago though, and I remember going, oh, Disney Plus Day, that's tomorrow. Oh yeah, I better check out if they're gonna announce anything. And we all got slapped in the face with a bombardment of amazing show announcents. And I think, and that was a magical day. I don't know if you guys have that same reaction to that day, but it was just like, that was an overload. I found last year an overload of, there's so many shows to think about. There's so many possibilities. There's so much coming. Mm-hmm. So I think, for me personally, I kind of had my expectation was up there. Not that I was expecting 10 new shows. That would have been a stretch. but it's like my hype and excitement was at that level going, oh, last year was incredible. We should be getting, more of a look into those things now. So yeah, that same thing of it was the overhype and the standard from last year might have, aided in that being such a letdown this year.
I remember being so unprepared and just caught off guard by last year. And then I wake up this morning, I'm like, yeah, I'm ready for this. Let's get it on.
Yeah. Same. I had a very similar experience, but this year I started to get the sense that it was not going to live up to our expectations from a Star Wars perspective, at least. I can't speak to the Disney's perspective, but I started to get that sense once I realized there was no presentation. That it was just going to be social media reveals, because I had been thinking that Disney Plus Day would be like Investor Day or whatever they called it last year.
That's right. Sorry, Joel just said that in the comments. Yes, sorry. Yeah, that makes That's right.
But I had the same thought that everybody else did, that there would be some kind of presentation. Kathleen Kennedy would be standing in front of a green screen and logos would be flying around behind her, and we were looking for a time for that. We were looking for what time that was going to be. It was going to be 2:00 in the afternoon. It was going to be 9:00 in the morning, 5 in the evening. And when that wasn't coming, and then they said, oh yeah, it's just going to basically be a Twitter thread. I started thought, maybe not. And then this morning, when I started to see people tweeting that they had gotten up early, especially West Coast people who got up at 6 a.m. and saying that they had gotten up early, I was like, oh, I just have a feeling in the pit of my stomach that this is not going to go well. This is going to be.
I just remember a tweet from our friend Corey Van Dyke. I'm so tired right now.
Yeah.
It was. And it was funny. It was funny also. I think we posted our announcement saying, "Hey, we're not doing a show on Thursday this week. We're doing a show on Friday." And then our good friend Star Raptor is like, "Well, hey guys. What if there's no reveals? What if there's nothing?" And I'm like, "Oh, Chris, you're so naive."
I saw that too. And I went, "No, don't sell it short.
You'll just wait and see, Chris. You'll see all about it."
I do want to point out though that we have spent an hour on what they revealed so far. It's not like there was some stuff. There was some stuff, but yeah, I think we all went in with expectations that were a little bit out of warp, in part because of the rumors, in part because of last year, and in part because I think we all just wanted to believe that something magical would happen because it's Disney Plus Day. But instead we got, two decent things, and I'm happy enough with those. I don't count myself among the super disappointed or anything, even though I was hoping for more, but.
It's hard not to be disappointed when you go into one day thinking, "Oh, we're gonna get 12 trailers and 15 announcements. This is gonna be great."
Yeah.
I remember seeing the first tweet after they had moved on from Star Wars, and because they'd only done 2 Star Wars tweets, and I had turned on notifications for Disney Plus on my phone. I'm like, I want the tweets as they come in. I was working, so I had my phone out ready. I was looking at it, and as soon as the one that came in after the Obi-Wan reveal, I was like, oh, yeah, it really
was Cars. It was the Cars one.
It's done. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, wait, oh, so they're just mixing it up. They're just like they're gonna do some more stuff and they're gonna come back to Star Wars. Like that's not it.
I saw that it was an Owen Wilson announcement. I went, oh wow, it's awesome. That was my Owen Wilson impression.
Wow.
Okay. Andor, like the thing says on the bottom of the screen.
Oh yes.
So there was another Disney event this week that was much more low key, and that was a quarterly earnings call. Everybody loves these quarterly earnings calls, and during said quarterly earnings call, going over the fourth fiscal quarter of 2021, the chief financial officer of Disney confirmed that Andor, the Cassian Andor Rogue One prequel, will be arriving about a year from now in the fourth fiscal quarter of 2022, which means that roughly translates to sometime between late July and early October, because Disney's fiscal year is not the same as the calendar year. It doesn't begin in January and end in December. It begins for some reason in October and in the back half of October it goes around.
Took over Star Wars. That's when everything begins. There was no history with Disney before Star Wars. That's why.
Yeah. This century-old company had no history before Star Wars. I guess maybe are they a century?
Then they became
century old? Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, close to it.
Almost.
If it's not. So, Andor in late July, early August, sometime in there. That seems to be about when it would drop. So it looks like we'll kind of have Book of Boba through January, February. That'll take us through that. Then we'll have maybe either some time off until Kenobi in May, probably. And that'll probably be six episodes. That'll take us to June, maybe another little gap in there. And then we'll get Andor. That'll take us through to the fall, and when maybe they'll have a Mando season ready for us. At some point, they're going to have to fit Bad Batch in. I don't know where that's going to be, if we're going to have 2 at a time at any point in there. Maybe after Book of Boba and before Kenobi. That feels like a substantial little gap there that, maybe Bad Batch season 2 won't be 16 episodes like last year was. Maybe it'll just be 12, maybe it'll be 10, maybe they'll condense it down a little bit. But who knows? Like we did the math last week. It's still a very real possibility that we wind up with 40 weeks of new Star Wars content this year. Like that's not unreasonable to think that could happen.
That's awesome.
So Andor, sometime next year. I genuinely not expecting to hear anything more about this show until Celebration. I think it'll be all quiet on the Andor front until then. So at which point we can have a nice big panel with Cassian, with Diego Luna and all the rest of the cast. Genevieve O'Reilly can be there. It'll be awesome. And one other piece of sort of Disney Plus Day adjacent news. The Mandalorian himself, Din Djarin Pedro Pascal, he's back. He's in the studio this week recording some new dialogue for Din Djarin. Well, probably for Din Djarin. So, Ben, where does this come from, Ben? Is this Ear Candy YY or YYC? Is that the account that first tweeted out this picture?
Yes, it's Ear Candy YYC, and I checked, and this post does not exist anymore. This isn't even my screenshot. I stole someone else's
That's
screenshot.
Spicy.
Yeah. So they, from what I understand, this is my reading of the situation, is that this is like a remote studio somewhere, and Pedro is in the middle of shooting Last of Us right now. He is perhaps not on the set of The Mandalorian, at least not all the time. So maybe he got to the studio to remotely record his lines for The Mandalorian while that production is going on simultaneously. So I think this is just a studio and, kind of maybe an independent studio that's working with Lucasfilm and Skywalker Sound. And then they like, hey, we posted, they posted it online like, hey, we got Din Djarin, we got Mandalorian in the studio. And they got like hey, don't do that post. Delete that post. You're not. Even though everybody knows Mandalorian season 3 is happening, you can't tell everybody that.
John Favreau showed up at the door and started beating them with the broom. He's like, "Stop posting."
There's the broom. Yep.
My goodness, John is like abusive with that broom.
Yeah, he's really attached to that. Wow.
Yeah.
You'd think he'd have a dark saber. Like, come on.
He just shows up with the dark saber prop, beating the guy over the head.
God.
It's a broom, but it's shaped like a dark saber because
Yeah, there
what
we
he
go.
has in his house, and he just beats people up with it.
He got
Dark
it.
broom.
He got it specially made. Yeah. So I think the safe assumption with this is that it's for Mandalorian season 3, and that's kind of interesting that he's recording his lines at the same time that they're shooting it. You would think they would just wait until afterwards and do it all at once. So if that's the case, that's kind of a cool way to work around the process. It gives them a little bit more time if they want to change things on set, if they feel like his vocal performance isn't matching up with the physical one. All that's really interesting, and it's very likely that that's the way this is going. But I'll
Wait,
also
you're saying it's the way?
This is the way, yeah.
It is the way.
But I'll also throw this out as a possibility for what could be going on here. I think it's very likely that we see Din Djarin at some point in the book of Boba Fett.
Ooh,
And-
I would say it's guaranteed.
Yeah.
I would bet on it.
Yeah, and maybe they needed to tweak some of his lines. They're putting the finishing touches on those episodes now. Maybe they got to his episode and they thought, you know what? Don't love the way this line reads. We want to fix it. John and Dave went into a room somewhere and figured out a new way to write the line. No brooms were involved, and then they
broomless.
It was broomless. And then they sent the lines over to Pedro Pascal and said, "Can you go over to that ear candy place and record a few lines for us?" I'm not
I
saying
think that's really that sounds very plausible. It sounds a lot more plausible than kind of co-filming and voice recording of Mando. That I think timeline wise, it makes sense to that they're just fixing up a couple of lines here and there, and they've chosen a remote, maybe not as popular, place to do the recording at, so more discreet. Maybe it adds to why they should. They asked to get it taken down and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I'm with Ben, and I think with the rest of you, I think we're definitely going to see a Mando in Book of Boba Fett. It's almost guaranteed.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have to. I think they sort of knew that, there's no new Mandalorian episodes this year. It's been a year since season 2 of The Mandalorian. Like I keep getting Facebook and Instagram memories saying, "Oh, you were posting about Radio Razor Crest episodes this time last year." I'm like, I was. Oh man, there's no Star Wars this week. And so I think they know that, and they sort of want to make sure that they get some continuation of the Mandalorian story in Book of Boba Fett, even if it's just one episode where we just kind of check in with Din and see how he's doing now that his best buddy has gone off to train in Jedi school.
And if it is the case where that's the timeline where it's just after the end of season 2 there, like Din's got some time on his hands. Maybe he, Boba gets into deep water and he, we got a couple of those scenes in that trailer for Boba. There's danger around. Maybe he goes, "Hey Mando, can you come help me out with something?" I feel like that could definitely be like maybe a 1 episode thing where Din comes in to flying in, not on the Razor Crest. I don't know what ship he would have now, but come flying in to kind of help out Boba a bit more. I think there's definitely a room for that friendship to flourish now that he's got the time.
What kind of ship would he have now? Would he go for just some like piece of crap junker, the first thing he could find that he's flying around? Or would he be like going through like a midlife crisis thing now that his child has left home? He's like, I don't know what to do with my time. I'm going to spend all my money on a fancy sports car here and drive it around.
But maybe speeder.
Yeah,
maybe he gets a ship that has Beskar armor around it.
Or he's got gets a really dramatic like engraving of the Mudhorn on the side of it. He's like, I've got too much money. I don't know what to do with it right now. Or he did it himself with the Darksaber, and Bo-Katan was just watching the whole time going, that's not what that's for. If you don't want it, just hand it over.
I just like the idea of Din, like, Fennec and Boba are just like trying to conduct business. They're trying to really like get some stuff done. They're trying to nail down this whole crime lord thing, and then Din's just like popping in because he's bored. He's just like, hey guys, you want to hang out? He's like, we've got important stuff to do. I know you lost your kid and you're bored now and you're depressed, but like, leave us alone.
Din's in the middle of like a 6-month bender, and he's just going crazy all the time, and he just happens to wind up on Tatooine and just stumbles into the situation like, oh, hey, Boba, I wasn't expecting to see you here. Good to see you, man. And Boba's like, I need your help on this mission. He's like, sure, yeah, mission.
I'm just picturing Ben Wyatt being like, oh, does it look like, do I look like a depressed person? Would a depressed person do this? Like
that mess over there in the cantina, that wasn't me.
Picking up like weird side projects and hobbies.
Yeah. Yeah, every week he has a new hobby. He's like, one week he's really into like knitting or something. He's like, I'm just
crocheting hair.
Anyway, The Mandalorian. So something's going on with old Pedro Pascal. He's working on some Star Wars things, and that's exciting. That's the takeaway from that. All right, so let's now talk about something that most other weeks would be the top story. And that is that Rogue Squadron, the film that was to be Star Wars' triumphant return to cinemas, seems to have hit a bit of a snag and might be postponed. This is according to a report from The Hollywood Reporter. Rogue Squadron, the Star Wars feature project due to be directed by Wonder Woman filmmaker Patty Jenkins, has been caught in the tractor beam and will take a little longer to make it to the big screen. Jenkins and writer Matthew Robinson have been developing Squadron for Lucasfilm for over a year with the goal of starting production in 2022. It was to have gone into pre-production by the end of this year. However, sources say that the producers and filmmaking team came to the realization that Jenkins' schedule and other commitments wouldn't allow for the window needed to make the movie in 2022. Thus, Squadrons has been taken off the production schedule. The hope is that once Jenkins fulfills her previous commitments, she will be able to return to the project. Squadron would have been the first feature film since the end of the Skywalker saga, which wrapped up with 2019's Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker. It has a release date of December 22nd, 2023, and while that currently remains in place, dates can always shift. It's unclear what, if any, of Jenkins' commitments were at issue here specifically, but she is in development on Wonder Woman 3 for Warner Brothers and a Cleopatra feature for Paramount. Sources say Wonder Woman 3 was initially to have followed Squadron, but that could shift now that the latter is off the table. Squadron and Jenkins' involvement was first revealed during the Disney Investors Day presentation, yada, yada, yada. It's unclear if Lucasfilm will have another Star Wars movie ready to go before Squadron, but development continues on several, among them one from Marvel Studios chief Kevin Feige and one from Taika Waititi. So there it is. Another Star Wars movie hits a pretty major snag. Chris, we'll go to you first on this one. What's your reaction to the Rogue Squadron delayed news?
Well, yeah, my initial reaction was Disney really doesn't care about Star Wars movies right now. Like, they're killing it on Disney Plus. There's 10, 20, 30 series. I don't know how many there are. There's a lot of Star Wars series on Disney Plus, and it seems like they really just are content focusing on Star Wars on Disney Plus, and they're in no hurry to pump out movies. I mean, I remember when Disney first took over, we were thinking there might come a time when we got 2 Star Wars movies a year. I think that's what they were testing by putting Solo out, 5 months after The Last Jedi. Yeah, I think they're just content with all the Marvel films. There's so many Marvel films coming out. There's so many Pixar and Disney original films coming out. They've got all the 21st Century Fox related stuff too that they've acquired. There's like a Disney film coming out in theaters almost every week, it seems, between all these different companies and subsidiaries that they have. It's just, they just seem really content to put Star Wars on the back burner and just lean further and further into having that be one of the flagships of Disney Plus. So it's disappointing as someone who loves watching Star Wars on the big screen and loves that the whole communal aspect of everybody coming together to watch something is something that hasn't been replicated since the Disney Plus era and everybody just watching on their devices. But it's very clear that Star Wars is a series franchise at the moment, and that everything else is just a developmental thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think you hit on what's sort of most disappointing to me, and this is that we're losing out on all the fun that comes with the Star Wars release. And I think Rogue Squadron, from what little we heard about it, sounded like it had the potential to be a really cool movie and a really fun movie. But I was just looking forward to going back to the theaters, doing the Star Wars movie releases again, because we had such fun with Force Awakens, Rogue One, Last Jedi, Solo, Rise of Skywalker. Love or hate the movie, the experience of the build-up, going and seeing it with friends, seeing it by yourself, seeing it with family, talking about it constantly, having it be the thing that everybody was talking about. There's nothing quite like that, and Mandalorian came pretty dang close to replicating that. Certainly, having everybody talking about it. There's still something missing. It's still not quite the same, and Rogue Squadron, in a sense, I could take or leave as a project. Like I said, I think there's great potential there, but is it what I see as an essential thing that I need desperately? I guess maybe not, but that communal thing is I'm really gonna miss that. I'm real sad about that. That's
what we need is a Star Wars film. It doesn't matter, any Star Wars film. Yeah. Like the Rod of the Hutt film. It's fine. That's great.
Make it happen.
Just need something.
Make it happen. Yeah. Hannah, what about you? What do you think of this news?
Yeah, similar sort of response. I was very much looking forward to everything you just said, Dom. That experience of seeing a Star Wars film in theaters is such a ecstatic thing. Whether it's a good movie or not, it's that whole experience. It's really enjoyable. So I agree. I was really, disappointed with that kind of, gotta wait longer. I'll just keep enjoying the series. But the positive I took away from this story and when it was coming out and more information was coming about it, but in the past, and it's happened with a couple of Star Wars films, there's been, halfway through production and a certain, creative director or a director has been cut or moved, or there's creative difficulties. And that term is often used when there is just, blatant disagreements coming from the production team, where that wasn't at all mentioned in the explanation of why this is delayed. This seems very genuine to like, okay, maybe her schedule is genuinely just jam-packed with all these other projects and she just needs a bit more time. And so, I was worried that everyone would take it as, no one can agree what Rogue Squadron can be, so we're going to just push it back. I think it's a positive, it's a purely scheduling, but it's still got positivity going behind it. We're still, people are still thinking and working on it, even if it's not in a massive capacity. So I try to kind of take that positivity from the story. It wasn't this massive clash of everyone hates each other and it's not working. So I think that's the good thing from the situation.
Yeah, it's not another Phil Lord and Chris Miller situation. That's for sure.
Yeah. There you go.
That's for sure. Ben, what about you? How you feeling, Rogue Squadron wise?
Yeah, it's something that I can't. My feelings can't help but be colored and be biased by the fact that it was the rumor that we're about to talk about that I heard about first, which was that this was happening and that there was stuff going on behind the scenes. And I heard this from several sources even before it started getting reported, like, okay, something's going on with Rogue Squadron and that it might not be happening in 2023. And so I took it I took it as good news, actually. I take it as like, I feel like if what's being talked about and all this noise being talked about is at least somewhat true, it feels like Lucasfilm has learned at least a little bit about pushing these things through and like, okay, there's a problem. Well, just got to work it out and keep going. We got to stick to this release date because that's when it's supposed to come out. We told people it's coming out this date and that's what we got to do. And I think it's great that they're like, okay, the movie's not ready. Patty Jenkins can't work on it. So we're just not going to release it then. And we're just going to push it back. And I think, Chris, you're kind of on the mind there. Like, they're not too worried about the movie side of things. I don't think we as fans, me especially, is not that worried about the movie side of things. Yes, I miss the movies. I so want to see something in the theaters in 2023. But it's not going to break my heart per se if that doesn't happen because we've got so much stuff coming out on the streaming side of things. And they know that that's super popular. Disney Plus, they had a whole day about it. It's a pretty big thing, guys. So like they had a Disney Plus day, but it's something that they can keep going with and go like, okay, we can just keep pumping out content. We don't necessarily have to worry about it. That's not our bread and butter anymore. And I'm sure they do want to get movies back in theaters. I'm sure there's some people, at least in Disney, that want that to happen, but I don't think it's as big of a deal as it once was to put out a movie every single year. Obviously, they wouldn't have this big break that we're in right now and things. And it would be on break anyway because, things happened the last year or two anyway. But,
I mean,
go ahead.
Star Wars is, so much bigger than just the live action content that gets distributed. The live action content kind of pushes an entire machine of merchandising and tie-in content and all this other stuff that's going on. And so really, as long as there's new content coming somewhere, everything else in the machine can keep going. And so there's no need to have that film come in there so that, okay, now we can have Star Wars lettuce in the grocery store again. Because now there's Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett Star Wars lettuce.
Yeah.
Love that. Well, now there's going to be Star Trek lettuce because that's what's coming out. The new Star Trek movie has been scheduled in that date.
Of course it has.
This lettuce lives longer and prospers.
There you go. Yeah, I appreciate that everybody here is taking a really sort of optimistic tact on all of this and sort of thinking, it's scheduling. With all the false starts we've had with Star Wars movies and the creative differences here and there and all this stuff, I'm more than once bitten, more than twice shy on all of this stuff. And when I see this sort of thing, I'm like, okay, the schedule doesn't work, but at one point you thought it might, and why doesn't it work anymore? Is it because you're having creative differences and therefore the window you thought you had to film is being encroached on by the window that Patty has to film Wonder Woman 3? I don't know, but I'm genuinely like, I want to believe that this is just, they were working on it. They're having a little bit of trouble cracking the story not because people don't share the same vision, just because they're trying to get the characters' arcs right. And they want to make sure this movie is as good as it can be. And as such, Wonder Woman 3 is now encroaching on that window. And so they've just said, you know what, take it off the table for a little bit, go do Wonder Woman 3 and then come back to us. I want that to be the case, but I'm a little nervous that there's something else causing this schedule delay. And, Lucasfilm's track record with directors, hasn't always been great, starting with Josh Trank and moving all the way through Colin Trevorrow and even Benioff and Weiss, although they left because of their Netflix deal. So I'm a little hesitant, a little worried, a little bit like, on edge that, it's about to happen again. We're about to see another filmmaker step away from their Star Wars project because they can't get it to work. And so my sort of, and if that is the case, if that is truly what's going on here, then I have a hypothetical situation I would like to run by Lucasfilm for who they could hire. And I would say this to Lucasfilm, Kathy, if you're listening. It's just you and me now. Let's go.
She's listening.
Imagine if you, for a second, if you will, that there's a director out there that you've worked with before, and you can work with them, and they can keep on schedule and on budget, and that you have a shared vision for what Star Wars could be, and you could work together, and you made a movie together, and that movie made over $1 billion and was the highest grossing movie of its year. And what if that filmmaker was out there? And that filmmaker has shown himself to be a wonderful ambassador to Star Wars fans, spending hours signing autographs for free in the middle of the night. And what if this filmmaker didn't already already exist, but you had them under contract for not just one more Star Wars movie, not just 2 more Star Wars movies, but 3 more Star Wars movies? If you don't know where I'm going with this yet, what I'm saying is it's time to bring back the Rian Johnson trilogy. clearly he's the only guy that knows how to work with these people. Apparently he's the only one that can make it happen. So let's bring him back, give him another go, let him do his own thing. Don't make him pick up where J.J. Abrams or anybody else left off. Let him do his own thing and see what happens. Just say, all right, make one movie that could work as a standalone or could work as the beginning of a trilogy, and let's go from there. Because genuinely, The Last Jedi, like, whatever you think of that movie, that production was smooth. It was it was everything you could want. There were very limited leaks. It was on time. It was delivered ahead of schedule somehow. Like this guy knew how to do it. And it's bizarre that we still haven't heard anything about that trilogy. It was announced like 4 years ago this week. And here we are still wondering about it. And, Ryan, he went off, he made Knives Out. He got an Oscar nomination for it. What more does this guy have to do? Bring him back. Come on. Let's give it another go.
You're just setting a show up of our podcast next year, Dominic, where we're going to be talking about how the 2024 The Will of the Force is being postponed because of conflicts with Knives Out 5.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is that where our predictions have gone now?
It's true. It's true. It's Knives Out. It's going to encroach on.
Which movie is going to be postponed?
Yeah.
Which one? Which director is going to get fired?
Lightsabers out.
Yeah.
Let's find somebody who is kind of like doesn't have any other projects going on, but also like that's not for a good reason.
That's true. That's true.
Oh my God. Go ahead.
but on it, like thinking about, the directors that we've had in the past, and my kind of take on the approach directors should take with a Star Wars, whether it be a film or series, is there's something about Dave and John, and there's a lot of discussion and a lot of love for them and Mando and the success of that, and a lot of success is from those two creators, directors, who they are. But I think the key thing about those two, it's not just because they are big Star Wars fans and because they have a history with the franchise, especially Dave. I think it's because they have a real strong confidence in what they're making. And they're really confident with the movie, and they're really confident with this just every aspect of it, the storyline, the direction. And even if that is a bad movie, we can look at Last Jedi, and we can, like what you said, Dom, like you can look at all the dislike that movie received, but it's like a really well-made movie, and it's because in my opinion, Ryan went with it with such confidence and was like, this is like my vision. This is what I see. This, worked with other people and made this incredible product. So I think, in my opinion, I think that's the kind of directors and creators we need in Star Wars. Is just complete confidence into what they're making. Not, let's dabble around the feet of the fans and make sure we don't offend anyone. It's that full confidence of, people aren't going to like this factor, but I'm going to put my heart and confidence into this, what I'm creating.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I think what Ryan brought in episode 8 that no other filmmaker has really managed to bring is that he didn't just want to do Star Wars again. He wanted to give his own take on Star Wars. I love The Force Awakens. I love Solo. Rise of Skywalker is what it is. But I think for J.J. Abrams and Ron Howard both sort of took the approach of it's worked before, let's tweak it around the edges, but let's do it again. And it worked. I mean, it worked. Those are great. There's greatness in those movies, and they are very, very, very entertaining. But Ryan is the one guy that came in there and said, I don't want to just do what worked before again. I will take from it. I will echo it, sometimes a little too literally, but I will still but I will still present something new, something different, and something that, feels true to the way George made Star Wars. Not saying that George would have made the same choices or done the same things, but he went at it from a very personal place, and he said, this is what I want to see. This is a Star Wars movie that I want to see, and I'm going to make that. And that's always what George did. And that's how, and I think it's no surprise that, the two most contentious Star Wars movies for a long time were The Phantom Menace and The Rise of Skywalker, or not The Rise of Skywalker, and The Last Jedi, because those were the movies that were sort of bold enough to be the first ones to say, we're going to do something different. We're going to try something different. And whether it worked or not, that's up to the individual. We can debate the finer points of both of those movies. But at the end of the day, both of those filmmakers said, I'm going for it. I'm trying it, and let's see what happens. And I think Star Wars as a whole is better for it.
Yeah, and I would hope that all these filmmakers, whether it's Taika Waititi or Patty Jenkins, they are encouraged to just do your thing. Don't try. We've done the whole thing of let's try to predict what the fans want. Let's try to see let's try to tick all the boxes. And speaking of Rian Johnson, he has that famous quote that gets bandied around that's like, George Lucas never made a Star Wars movie by thinking, what do the fans want to see? He just did it. George did it. I think all these new filmmakers could take an example, not from Rian, but from George himself. I think that's what I think that was what Rian was doing, was just taking from the master and taking cues from the original guy and going okay, what would he do? Rian and George probably don't agree on everything, but they still had the same sensibility about having confidence of Jar Jar Binks is a wild character and people are probably not gonna like it, but I don't care. I love him. He's my favorite character, and I'm gonna put him as a star in this movie. And guess what? We're now 20 years later, and it's fine. People love Jar Jar, and who cares if you don't? So just being confident, and that's the thing I've gone back to, not to sound like a broken record, but I think Lucasfilm has struggled with confidence, struggled with being confident in what they're doing, and being oh, we don't want to do this or that, and want to try to do everything right. Just make Star Wars. People either like it or not, because that's what's happened anyway. They've liked a lot of stuff and they've disliked a lot of stuff. So what's the point? Just make Star Wars and do the best you can, and then hopefully a majority of people or some people will like it. Because either way, it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again. The attitude that was imbued in Star Wars Visions is the one that we need in the entire franchise, because that's what we're talking about here with Rian Johnson and George Lucas with The Phantom Menace. Every single person who created one of those Star Wars Visions shorts had that confidence in what they were doing, and it made such amazing entertainment. And I just really hope that Lucasfilm sees the feedback that Star Wars Visions got and the analysis that it got, and just applies that to Star Wars films and other Star Wars series as a whole, and not just these off the wall crazy stories that aren't canon. You apply that to the big stuff, like a feature film, you're going to end up with something truly special. That's when Star Wars will be breaking the mold in the cinema once again.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And like Ben said, confidence. They need to be confident in their ideas, confident in their movies, and confident that they can promote more than one thing at a time and can make reveals on Disney Plus Day next year.
Yes. Please.
Yeah.
You can give us an ObiWan Kenobi trailer, and we're still going to be excited for Book of Boba Fett. It's possible. It's possible, guys.
Exactly. One other quick note: we mentioned the Kevin Feige movie, or was mentioned in the Hollywood Reporter article. There were some rumors flying around this week that Chloe Zhao, who directed Eternals, was Feige's choice to direct his Star Wars movie. But in their email blast, Hollywood Reporter clamped down on that rumor and said, they said this: "We've been hearing this one all week, but insiders insist that no, Chloe Zhao is not directing Kevin Feige's Star Wars movie or any Star Wars movie." So it's not her. So we'll see. We'll see who's.
The insiders said we get an Obi-Wan Kenobi trailer today. All right, so I don't know how much I trust these insiders.
I love that.
Well, speaking of rumors, Speaking of rumors, Ben, this next story could be what is going to replace Rogue Squadron. So earlier in the week, a verified Twitter account, which, as Jon Favreau will tell you, can never tweet a lie. They tweet everything they say is true and should be believed at face value. Thank you for that tremendous insight about the internet, John. They tweeted that there is a Star Wars film planning to shoot next year. It's not Taika's film, Feige's film, or Rouge Squadron. They meant Rogue, but you know.
Rouge.
Yeah.
I still haven't seen. I still have not seen that Rouge one they keep talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. Where is that?
Where is the
Rouge one?
They report that that's what at Big Screen Leaks said, is that there's a movie that's not any of that. And then Star Wars Newsnet jumped on with a follow-up report, and this is what they say. The current December 22nd, 2023 release date is still set to be filled by a new Star Wars project. Thankfully, Lucasfilm have been clandestinely working on several projects. I love how they say clandestinely, like it's like super secret, like it's like some kind of like spy thing where like there's lives on the line and that sort of thing. But they've been clandestinely working on several projects as part of their theatrical and streaming slates, and word is that one that could take Rogue Squadron's current date is a story set in the days of the Old Republic. It's not clear if this is going to be a canon reimagining of the original story presented in the Tales of the Jedi comics or the BioWare RPGs, but it can be presumed that it may take inspiration from those stories. There's some precedent for Lucasfilm to be invested in the Knights of the Old Republic concept beyond the remake of the original game, which was announced earlier this year. Back in 2019, BuzzFeed reported that Leta Kalogridis, who wrote Shutter Island, Altered Carbon, and Alita Battle Angel, has been commissioned to begin work on a project related to the Old Republic era, possibly as the first film in a potential trilogy. While this story didn't seem to go anywhere for the past 2 years, it's likely just been in the pipeline for a while and is the same project as this new movie scheduled to be released in 2023. Keep in mind that for now, this remains a rumor and things could easily change. It's also possible that the 2023 movie could be another project that we don't yet know about, since an Old Republic story is one potential option. We'll likely find out more in the months ahead, as Lucasfilm has already adjusted their theatrical release schedule, with Indiana Jones 5 being delayed to 2023. Nonetheless, we believe that if Lucasfilm are moving quickly on the project, then it's possible it could begin filming before the end of next year and have more than enough post-production time in 2023 to be a full-fledged cinematic Star Wars experience. So, the Old Republic in 2023. My big question is, do they mean the Old Republic or do they mean the High Republic? Is this a tie-in?
That's also something I've heard is potentially High Republic.
Yeah,
I think they would know the difference between that.
Yeah, I would. I sort of hope that it's Old Republic, because I want to leave the High Republic to the authors.
Me too.
For now, I want to let them tell their story without having them worried about. A movie overwriting what they're doing in the books. So I think let's go further back in the timeline. We originally thought High Republic would be further back in the timeline. Let's go even further back than that. And I don't know. What do you guys think? Old Republic for 2023.
So what I have to say about this is about dang time there's a serious rumor about this. I mean, this is something that fans have been asking for like 20 years or however long it's been since that first cinematic trailer came out for the MMORPG. Like, it's such an interesting era of Star Wars where you get to kind of just like twist everything around. It's almost like a Star Wars what if, a Visions in itself, because you have some of the same elements. You got Sith, you got Jedi, you got guys in armor fighting each other, like you got the smuggler dudes, like Mandalorians, all the same stuff, but it's all different characters and a different storyline, and it's just a big shakeup where you can do anything. So I think that it's a really cool era to work in, both kind of visually and with the opportunity to tell new stories. And there's just some really great concepts, just like there's great concepts from the books that carried Star Wars forward, like Thrawn being put now into ostensibly live action and animation. there's all these great concepts like Revan, and that Shea Vizsla that can be put into a movie in the Old Republic era. So I mean, I think this is something that should have been done like a long time ago. I think this would be very long overdue if they go ahead and do this. So about 9 years overdue.
I always had a feeling that this might be the first post-sequel trilogy project, that like they would let the first couple of years of the new movies be focused on 7, 8, 9, and then once that was done, they would launch into a new series or trilogy or some kind of multimedia thing with the Old Republic and really flesh out that era, because I think like you said, there's tons and tons and tons of potential there for great storytelling. Yeah. Any other thoughts?
I just like, I have complicated feelings about this because it's like it's kind of comes out of nowhere. It's just like, oh, they're pushing Rogue Squadron back, and oh, they've got this Old Republic movie that came out of nowhere and it's ready to go, and they're gonna like go into production in a couple months, or like all this. And then the fact that I think the kicker is that it's Old Republic, and Old Republic has been talked about so much in the fandom that I'm like, this sounds made up. This sounds like someone's gonna make up a rumor that things that you're gonna make it a Old Republic story. I'm not saying that won't happen. I fully believe that the Old Republic will be addressed. We'll get more stuff, books, comics, a movie at some point. And it could be this. I just my brain is like, Old Republic is fake. And and that's a bias that I probably need to get over, but like that's just my initial reaction. But it is interesting, the idea of like they were working on Rogue Squadron, then they had other movies just sitting around ready to go, and I guess they're just gonna cast them and script them and put them in production. I'm like, wow, that's a big turnaround, especially on something we're just now hearing about.
Yeah, I'm of that same thinking with you, Ben. It's like with everything that's been going on, I was just like, wait, what? Old Republic right now? Like now? Like, but I agree that there is such a, it really does take up a large part of the fandom. Like people are the fans of Republic are real big fans of it. So I can see why they would want to start thinking of having some more content creation in this era. But yeah, it was just kind of out of nowhere. It feels very made up, but also a very much a potential that we could be seeing.
Yeah. The other thing with an Old Republic an Old Republic movie, slip of the tongue.
That's another rumor.
Yeah. Is that just saying Old Republic is so nebulous that I feel like a lot of people have a lot of different expectations for what it could be. And it's almost not enough information to really go on. It's sort of like saying, yeah, they should make a story told in the ancient past. Like, okay, sure. How ancient are we talking about? What kind of story is it? Like, is it a sprawling epic? Is it a one-off sort of small little adventure that just happens to take place 800 years before the Phantom Menace? Like, what exactly are we talking about here? But the term is also so loaded. The Old Republic is so loaded. We heard Obi-Wan say it back in A New Hope, and those games, the KOTOR games, the Old Republic MMO, like those, they take up a really big and important place in the Star Wars fandom sort of brain memory, for lack of a better term. That I feel like they when the time comes to announce something like this, they need to do a good job of defining it right away so that expectations don't run off in every single different direction and get way out of hand, so that when it comes time to sort of rein those in, when the movie is actually coming out and there is a specific story that people are looking for, that it's not too late and people aren't already disappointed because it's not the specific story they were hoping for. And when I say rein in expectations, I don't mean that people should think the movie's not going to be good. I think those expectations you want, and those are the expectations people should have, that the movie will be good, if not great. But the expectations I'm saying is that you want to make sure that people, if it's not going to be a Revan story or a Bastila Shan story or stories with characters we know already, I think you want to make that clear from the beginning that it's all new characters in an all new era. and even though you're using that term and you're building, you're using that term to build hype, you want to make sure people know, shouldn't go into this movie expecting Darth Malgus to show up.
Yeah, and it is interesting. Like, I mean, we've talked about it. Like, expectations are a huge problem in Star Wars. Hey, look at today. All of our expectations down the drain. And it's like a lot of this does have to do like expecting something and like, oh, this is what I'm gonna get, and then not getting it, and like, oh, things with like you say, like, hey, we're getting a Boba Fett show. That kind of, you can kind of gauge like everyone's expectations can kind of be focused on something. When you say Old Republic, that means so many different things to so many different people. And maybe you love the MMO that's happening right now. Maybe you love the old KOTOR. Maybe you like Revan. Maybe you like Bastila. Maybe you like Malgus. Maybe you don't like any of that stuff and you want something brand new. I will be very curious to see. I'm not saying that that because of this they should avoid doing this. I think they should absolutely do, and I would love to see just them do whatever and not be beholden to what came before, but also be inspired by it. But you are going to have a certain amount of people that are going to check out from it because, like, either they like where they're going because it's something new, or they don't like where it's going because it's not faithful enough to the source material or whatever. It's almost like adapting a book. You're going to piss off a certain amount of people because it's not exactly the same. They took out that scene.
Here's my pitch for an Old Republic story that I think would be a good, interesting story to tell, and in an interesting way. I would like a Darth Bane trilogy, not an adaptation of those excellent books that Drew Karpyshyn wrote back in the day, but a trilogy about the downfall of the Sith and the creation of the Rule of Two. And the twist that I would have in it is that there would be a lot of Sith. There'd be a lot of Sith in the beginning, and you wouldn't know who Darth Bane was until the very end. You would have them all have different names, and then in the end, when the character who becomes Bane creates the Rule of Two, that's when they take on that name. Nice. And so it's a sort of a big reveal that means a lot to the fans that that are already
it's like every
invested.
reality TV show that starts off with 20 people and then you don't know who's going to be left at the end.
Big Brother. It's
Darth
essentially
Bane.
Sith Big Brother.
Yeah, that's what I'm going for.
You have outwitted, outplayed, and outlasted the competition. You are the sole survivor.
and you would definitely need to have testimonial videos with them talking to the camera. Like, I just don't think that Darth Nihilus is really playing the game the way it needs to be played. I didn't come here to make friends. I came here to win.
Darth Malgus is cheating.
Yeah. And I tell you something, you don't cheat the cheater. I'll get him next. I don't know what this voice is, by the way.
What is it?
It's like if it's like if one of the South Park characters was a Sith Lord.
Yes. Oh my god.
Aside. I could not
God.
tell you how shocked I was to see South Park on Disney Plus earlier today.
Yeah, right.
Oh, yeah.
Right? What?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Okay. Oh. What a day. What a weird day it's been.
What a weird
day.
Yes.
No Kenobi trailer, but we got South Park and Star Wars.
And Family Guy too is in there.
That's right.
Yep. Amazing.
So funny.
Amazing.
So funny.
Yeah, the giant chicken's Boba Fett. All right. Terrible Peter impression. All right. Let's go. Let's keep going. That was good. That was not bad, Ben. That was good.
I'll never do it again.
All right. So we know that lots of Star Wars movies have been nominated for Oscars in the last few years, right? But no Star Wars movie has won an Oscar since Empire Strikes Back. I think they won a Sound Award. Well, even though there's been no theatrical Star Wars movies in a while, there's a shot that Star Wars may have another chance at an Academy Award. One of the Star Wars Visions shorts, specifically The Village Bride, which was produced by Cinema Citrus, has been submitted as a potential Oscar nominee and has made the list of films that have been qualified to be nominated. So This is still a long way away from happening. But
you look at the list; it's very long. It's a very long list of.
I think it's like 84 films, so it's a lot. But if The Village Bride can get nominated, can actually get nominated, be among the top 5 or whatever. I think this genuinely has the best shot at winning Star Wars' first Oscar since 1980. Because it'll be up in a category that, let's be honest, most of the voters don't pay attention to, which is the best animated short. And I think what hurts Star Wars most of the time, which is its recognizability and the fact that everybody has heard of it, which then causes people to vote for other things in the big categories, even, best VFX, will cause these lazy Oscar voters to vote for it this time because they won't watch the other animated shorts and they'll just go, oh yeah, Star Wars, I heard of that, vote. And I think if it gets to that point where it's on stage, Village Bride, Star Wars Visions, may be the first Star Wars movie with an Oscar since The Empire Strikes Back.
I mean, it freaking deserves it. I mean, that was one of the more interesting and unique of the Visions shorts. And I would be overjoyed for everyone who worked on it to get that recognition.
Yeah. It absolutely deserves it. Like, honestly, I'm sort of surprised it's the only one that's been put up for an Oscar. Like, all of them.
Tatooine Rhapsody. Come on.
The Duel.
That should be up.
Jedi.
Tatooine Rhapsody.
Get a Grammy.
It should be up for best original song. That's what it should be going for. Man, yeah. So I don't know. Cross your fingers for the Village Bride. Maybe we'll see Star Wars with one of those not C-3PO statues in a couple months' time. All right. One final story for this week, and this takes us back to rumors we haven't heard since 2019, or maybe even 18, and that is that Matt Smith was once rumored to have a role in The Rise of Skywalker, but as we all saw, he was not in there. Well, this week he was interviewed by Josh Horowitz of the Happy, Sad, Confused podcast in a special Patreon episode where he addressed those rumors. And we do have a clip. Now, I want to make it clear that Josh tweeted this clip. We're not taking something that he put behind a paywall and putting it out there for him. We're not stealing from the Happy, Sad, Confused Patreon here. This is something that they themselves published. But this is what Matt Smith had to say about the fact that, those rumors were out there. Take a listen.
You were going to be in The Rise of Skywalker. Matt, did you ever shoot any Star Wars scenes?
No, I didn't. There was, we were close to me being in it, but then it just never quite happened. I think the thing they were thinking of me for, eventually the part became, it became obsolete and they didn't need it. And so I never got to be in Star Wars. There we are.
Wait, what? Here's conjecture. Was this Palpatine's son? Was that who you were playing?
I could not possibly say. But it was a pretty groovy thing. It was a really groovy part and concept. It was pretty big. It was a big thing. It was like a big story detail, like a transformative Star Wars story detail. But it never quite got over the line.
No, I can't deal with this. I'm gonna have nightmares about this now.
Yeah, I mean, it was like it was a big shift in the history of the franchise.
I need you to stop talking. You're getting me angrier every successive word.
I know. It's there we are.
Did you ever get into costume? Was there a costume test? How far along did you go?
There was no costume. There were a couple of meetings to talk about it. And
the good part is you still have your Star Wars eligibility card, so it's a long career.
Well, maybe I can come back. You never know. I mean, if God, to come back as that
This is the worst. This is the worst possible time for the phone to cut out. Just so you know, the worst possible time.
Oh God, I hope. Sorry, it's because I'm in Spain and the internet's really shoddy in our hotel in the middle of Caracas. Sorry, my friend.
Oh man!
Whoa.
So close.
All I'm hearing is I was almost in Star Wars now. Star Wars is cool.
I miss seeing Matt Smith interviews because I watched a lot when he was the Doctor, and just when he said that the part was really groovy, I was taken back to like 2013. I was like, oh, I miss you, Matt Smith. I love Peter Capaldi and Jodie Whittaker as the Doctor, but God, I miss Matt Smith. You hear in the clip there that Josh asks him, "Were you Palpatine's son?" Which is, we do actually see Palpatine's son very briefly in the movie. The actual rumor that was out there was that Matt was playing a young Palpatine. And so basically, roughly what would have happened is after Palpatine discovers the dyad in the last minute of the movie, he starts taking that power from Rey and Ben, and rejuvenates himself. Is that he wouldn't have just rejuvenated himself to like Return of the Jedi, Revenge of the Sith Palpatine. He would have gone all the way back to being like a young, vital, healthy young man, and that would have been Matt Smith. And then the finale would have had Rey and Ben, or just Rey, taking on young Palpatine, and that's how it would have ended. Yes, that's how it would have ended. And ultimately, they decided not to, and I understand why, because when you sort of from an in-universe perspective, it makes absolute sense for him to come out of that regeneration of power, looking like Matt Smith, looking like a young Palpatine. But from a cinematic experience viewer perspective, I think it's more satisfying for the audience, or they thought it would be more satisfying for the audience to have the conclusion of the Skywalker saga be defeating the Emperor that we've always known, defeating Palpatine as we've always known him, instead of and having it be Ian McDiarmid instead of it being young Matt Smith, who we'd never seen in Star Wars before. So I understand why they chose to go that way, but man. It would have been cool to see Matt as young Palpatine.
Man, if we ever get to see just like an alternate version of a Star Wars movie, like Duel of the Fates would be fascinating to see.
If let's say, for example, this was true, that was true, that this is interfacing, we know he was going to be in the movie, we have this rumor about him being young Palpatine, they were considering, okay, a younger version of Ian McDiarmid would look like Matt Smith. I think that's pretty believable. Mm-hmm. Let's do something pre-Phantom Menace. Let's get that. Let's get that. What do you call it? Sheev. Just call it Sheev, the movie.
Sheev, the Star Wars story.
There you go. And it's his origin story, how he rose to power
under the
Sheev. Matt Smith.
Yeah.
Oh no.
We don't yet know much about the Acolyte.
I was about to say that Acolyte. I am really gun ho about a young Sheev and Acolyte. That has to happen. But I think I don't know if he's. Yeah.
Speaking of expectations, now I really want that.
Right, I'm gonna be mad if that's not it.
Yeah,
always happens.
I mean, there's already 10 Disney Plus shows. What's an 11th one? And we'll do, Sheeving Around or whatever.
Of course, it would be the 11th one.
But I don't know. What would it be like? Would it be like, I'm a Sith Lord now. Sith Lords are cool. What would it be, like a jovial, fun Palpatine? Like, would you actually make him likable? I don't know.
You want a jammy Dodger?
He just wears a black hoodie.
Yes.
He's just emo.
If we were talking about, George and how he, looked at Star Wars from a different perspective than most people. If George were ever to make a young Palpatine story, it wouldn't shock me if he made Palpatine like a really fun guy to be around. A really it's like you go into Phantom Menace expecting to see young Darth Vader be this sinister kid who's like ripping butterflies apart with his bare hands and stuff, and then you get this
Did you do that? Did you do that as a kid? What?
I can neither confirm nor deny.
Oh
no, I would never.
Cancel.
Confession time.
Nah, cancel Dom.
Yeah, I guess I got to go hang out with Gina Carano now. So, all of these things sound awful. I got to be honest.
Your position at the Daily Wire is waiting.
Oh my gosh.
But you expect him to be the sinister little kid, doing all sorts of terrible things to animals. But then you get this like really sweet, nice young lad who wants to help everybody. And I think you could do something similar with Palpatine, only with Palpatine, his story is that he is the politician. He's the politician that everybody trusts. They trust him to do the right thing. They trust him with the power. And he has to be fairly charismatic for people to do that. And we see how that manifests as sort of an older man. But as like a 20, 30-year-old, that probably manifests in some different ways where he's just kind of a fun guy to be around and everybody wants to party with Sheev. And he just seems like, he's a cool man around town. And that could be really interesting. But underneath it all, we would know that there is that sinister ripping butterflies in half version of him that could come out at any moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I agree with you. It would be very much the angle of it's within politics, and we would see him so smartly manipulating the situations around him. And his galaxy domination plan, it's not like he just had a dream about it one night and had to write it down as an idea. Like, he would have spent years calculating that.
I just feel like Palpatine's the guy with the dream journal. He's like, last night I woke up. Last night I dreamt that I had a space station the size of a moon that could blow up a planet. One day. I promise you this diary.
Oh my God. Let's do a brainstorm meeting on Monday.
Yeah. I like that Tarkin fellow. He seems like you could help me out on this.
Right? But it's like, like all these things he achieved, as sinister as they were, he achieved them. So it's like, I feel like, an early 20s, Sheev would have been calculating all these plans and these concepts of how to literally construct how he can become in power of the whole Senate, and then the whole clone. Like, I reckon it could even be just how he planned out the Clone Wars. He, built up the Separatists, and then, commissioned a clone and just literally orchestrated a whole war. So I think, a lot of it can be explored of how he was calculating that whole situation.
I just, imagine he's at a party or something like that. He's living it up. He's the life of the party, telling jokes, whatever. And he's like, hey, democracy is really overrated,
Oh, man. It's one of
I
those
think what we
guys.
could really use is an emperor to tell people what to do.
Oh my gosh.
It's kind of awkward. I want to leave now. Jeez. Yeah, but we could see him like realizing that he can convince people to do things that are not in their best interest, not even using the Force, not even manipulating their mind, just with his words, with his charisma, with his character, and just get them to go against their own interests.
It's very hand wavy to go like to go with like the Count Dooku thing of like thousands of millions of senators are under the influence of Darth Sidious, and you're thinking, oh, he's Jedi mind tricking them all. I like to think that Palpatine's like he's just hiding his presence. What he's doing there is like just pure political manipulation and like just doing stuff and making people do it and just preying on people's like their worst impulses. And it's nothing to do with the Force. It's just like, he's the most powerful being in the galaxy, but ultimately he's using political power to control everything.
There's a theory that's out there that I do not subscribe to, that in Revenge of the Sith, when he gives his speech and he raises his hands like this, that he's manipulating people with the Force to applaud for him, and that leads to Padme's line of, this is how liberty dies, with thunderous applause.
Please clap.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
He's starting the one-man clap. That's it. That's actually what he was about to do that. Whoa! And then everyone has to clap at the same time.
Come with me now.
Mexican wave.
This is how liberty dies.
his bumper sticker is just "Sheev!" exclamation point. But no, it's way the idea that he's using the dark side of the Force to influence people. That's pretty sinister, but it's way more sinister if all of those people are applauding because they actually believe in what he's saying. And that's the version I liked. That's what I like to think when I'm watching Revenge of the Sith. I don't like to think it, but that's what I do think when I'm watching Revenge of the Sith. He's just convinced them all that this is in their best interest.
And that's what I got from James Luceno's non-canon novel that should be canon, Darth Plagueis, and we know a lot of those ideas came from George and maybe reintegrated into canon, but it was very much about the machinations and the manipulation over just mind controlling people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, I think that's it. For I think we've hit the end of the news list. There's a couple of like collecting things, but we can save those for another time. But I think we've covered just about everything we need to cover, and I think with that we can begin to wrap things up for this week.
All right, so that will do it for this episode of the Star Wars Underworld podcast. If you're catching our show for the first time, this is not our normal time when we broadcast. We usually and have been for better part of 10 years been broadcasting on Thursday nights at the same time.
Come back in
of
6 days.
So we'll be back in 6 days time this time. So make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're watching on YouTube, or make sure you leave a review if you're listening on a podcast app. But yeah, we'll be back, and make sure you follow at the SWU. That is our collective social media account where you can get all those programming updates and breaking news. Special shout out and thank you to Hannah from Star Wars Culture for braving this absolutely jam-packed Disney Plus News Day with us. Thanks, Hannah, for being on.
Thank you so much. Always good to have conversations, many laughs along the way. Such a pleasure. I will also plug Star Wars Culture. We are over on YouTube live every Wednesday from 8 p.m. Eastern. I always have to convert it from Australian time, but I think I've got it down.
That's correct.
But you can follow us on social media, all at SW Culture Pod, for all the memes and good times over there with me and Jordan having an amazing time.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And Dominic, thank you so much for hosting as always.
It was my pleasure as always. I think we made the best of an odd situation with everything that went on this week and the Disney Plus Day reveals or lack thereof. It was still fun. I had a good time with it. I don't care if we didn't get everything we thought we were promised, but definitely weren't promised. So it's been fun, and I hope that whatever the next event is where they can make announcements, I hope they get to make a few more. I hope that includes those things like an Andor preview, a Bad Batch preview, Kenobi previews, and maybe some clarifications on what's going on on the cinematic side, because I now that the world is opening up, I desperately want to go see another Star Wars movie in the theaters. Yeah. That's something that I've certainly been missing, and I hope we can do it again soon, whether it's Rogue Squadron, The Old Republic, or something else. Let's get back there. But it's been great fun doing this week, and I can't wait to do all this again in 6 days' time.
Heck yes, and of course you can follow Dominic on social media at DominicJ25. And finally, Ben, thank you so much for hosting as well.
It was a pleasure, especially this week. Despite everything, despite all the drama, despite all the lamenting, this was a darn good Disney Plus day, I must say. Not what I expected, but sometimes surprises are nice, even when they're the opposite of like bunch of trailers. No trailers at all. Let's learn. Star Wars is all about, learning us and teaching us lessons. And so let's take a lesson from this. Stop predicting this stuff, okay? Just stop it, okay? All we know is the Book of Boba Fett is coming out in 47 days. That is a fact, okay? That's a fact, okay? Let's just stick to the facts. So that's all I'll leave you with tonight.
Heck yeah. And of course, at Ben Hart with no E is where you can follow Ben on social media. And you can follow me at Seek3PO. We want to thank everybody who subscribed to the show during the live show. Now we're less than 30 people away from 1,000 subscribers. So definitely please head over to YouTube, subscribe to us. Even if you just listen to the show, it helps us out a lot. Once again, a quick shout out to everybody at our network, Culture Slate Network, that helps promote the show. We want to promote them as well. Hannah on Star Wars Culture, Tyler and Logan over at Shatter Squadron, and Lindsay and Genevieve at The Rollout. They're awesome. Make sure you check out all of their respective YouTube channels that you can find all over at the Culture Slate channel. That's the main hub where you can find the links to everybody else. And that's where you can catch clips from all of our shows as well. So if you don't have time to catch the full show of each of these shows every week, you can get the best highlights over at the Culture Slate YouTube channel, which is a great way to consume everything and stay in the loop with everything that we are talking about. And make sure you check out our patreon.com/theswu. We've got a lot of exciting things that we're in the process of building over there, some things that people have been asking for a while. So we're super excited about that. And in the future, we're going to have a big reveal with everything, but you can definitely get ahead and get in on all that action that's happening over there by heading over to patreon.com/theswu. We're looking forward to reading more of your emails. Please send them swunderworld@gmail.com. So that's it. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We'll be back with another show next week. For Dominic, for Ben, for Hannah, for all the other great contributors we have here at Star Wars Underworld, my name is Chris, and may the Force be with you.
It's a wrap.